Welcome to a video where I, Terminator Plays, don't know why I'm introducing myself, it says my name on the video. We'll be explaining which characters you should choose for your starter frame and give recommendations, because not everyone is going to want to choose the same frame. I'm just going to give a recommendation and tell you what I chose and what would logically be the best decision. Until then, enjoy the starting cutscene and then I will explain the frames.
For generations you've slept. No purpose. No call to wake you. Grenier. Seeds from the ruins of the old war, swallowing colonies whole. But there's still hope. The Tenno. Monuments of an ancient warrior caste. Scattered across frail worlds. Together, they fought back, bringing an end to an empire. Then they left. Forgotten. Like a dream. Wake up, Tenno. Wake up.
Hope you like that cutscene. Whenever I started, we didn't get that kind of thing. It's neat. Anyway, first of the starting frames, you have the most new player friendly being Excalibur. His name speaks for itself. He uses swords. His passive ability makes him do more damage, while also increasing his attack speed with them. Makes sense. His first ability, he just does a slash with his Exalted Blade. It's it. It doesn't do anything. It's fodder for the abilities that get replaced, usually. Second ability, you have Radial Blind, which just blinds nearby enemies in a radius for a certain duration, and then you can walk up to them and finish them, usually killing them in endgame content, unless you don't have a good melee to do damage with, and then they might live through it. Otherwise, it's just crowd control. Before I get into his rest of his abilities, let me explain two terms regarding Warframe's characters. When I say frames, I'm referring to a Warframe character. When I say nuking, that's just killing enemies in a certain range really quickly. Hope it makes sense, not too hard to follow. For his third ability, you have his Radial Javelin, which is very simple. You slam the ground and enemies die around you. Nothing else needs to be said about it. Then you have his ultimate, which will essentially be used to nuke around you. If you can see in the small little screen that's being played, he just walks through enemies slashing them. That's all you do. It is very simple and very powerful in endgame and non-endgame content. Also, when I say endgame, I refer to anything that is above level 100 and to level like 150s or Steel Path content, which is much later in the game and not important to any of you new players. So you should be fine to use him. Next frame you have Mag. Nope. Next frame you have Volt. This is the frame I chose as my starter because he looked the most entertaining to me and I like lightning, so he was very fun to use. For his first ability, it being his passive actually, never mind, he just generates static electricity, essentially. So you know how when you rubber hand on static, you touch something and it releases the charge? He does that, but with his guns and his weapons. His first ability, you have Shock, which essentially is just shocking enemies. I don't think any more details need to be said on that. You shock enemies. Done. It also links between enemies, which is neat. That's about it, though. Then you have his second ability, Speed, which is where you saw him running with everything in slow motion. Not really going to happen in-game, but he does move really quickly, which increases his attack speed. Next you have Volt's Electric Shield, which just blocks damage, and you have, as a final ability, Discharge, which just nukes the entire map. It's just a lot of electric damage, strips shields off of the energy shield-based units, and will do a lot of damage and stun enemies that aren't killed by it. That's about it for Volt. For the final starter frame, you have Mag. Her abilities speak for themselves. Her passive is not important. Her first ability is not important because it's literally just entertainment value that ragdolls enemies. Her second ability is what makes Mag Mag, or what begins to make Mag Mag. She is the Queen of Math. Her second ability will put enemies in a bubble and then multiply your damage and their damage back to them. So if they try to shoot at you, they're going to take their own bullets. Her third ability is another ability that just multiplies her gun damage and also will strip enemy armor and shields. And then her final ability will just crush the enemies and also give her and her allies shields back. She is a mass nuking frame, just like Volt, except she is better against armored units and shield units alike. She just destroys enemies. That's what she does, and that's what she's good at. The only problem as a starter frame for her is everything that she needs to make her her is mods. Mods is something you'll learn about later, and I'll probably make a video on it soon, but all they are is attachments for your Warframe, and you need to put them on all of your Warframes to make them the best of their ability. Mods are something you need to put on every Warframe to actually make use of the Warframe. Just a base Warframe isn't going to be able to do much with its abilities. Anything that does damage from them isn't going to do too much damage. Anything that lasts a certain duration, as you'll see some of the abilities have a duration, isn't going to last that long. Anything that costs a certain amount of energy is going to stay costing that energy. And anything that has a certain radius is going to have a certain radius. Mods is what makes Warframes Warframes. Really. In terms of my recommendations, I recommend Excalibur and Volt overall, because Volt will give people the opportunity to farm Excalibur and Mag later easily without having to go through the effort of a clan dojo and actually get him. He's also a very good starter frame that can easily go through the first junctions and make your life easier, because he's also not very difficult to build. Excalibur is the same as Volt, not very difficult to build, but if you choose Excalibur, you'll have to go through a clan dojo and go through all that effort to actually get Volt. And then you have Mag, who is the strongest frame out of the three in my opinion, but she's hard to build and you can't really make use of her until you get much later in the game. So pick your poison. It depends on what you like. If you want a more fast-paced playstyle, Volt is very fast. If you want a playstyle that's going to be normal speed but just cut through things pretty simply, Excalibur will be your best bet. And if you're looking for a more tactical playstyle that just destroys things later in the game, Mag. But as I said before, Volt will allow you to make use of all three of these. It's just the other two, if you choose them, it'll be much harder to actually make use of Volt, because you can't get him until you get to a clan. Overall, I chose Volt and used him way up until I got my first Prime Warframe, which was a long time. Just take your first pick. I'm going to start with Mag, and then I will carry on with the next video, but I haven't recorded it yet, so enjoy this for now.